This is how to read Jin Ping Mei Chapter 12 in the embroidery version. Pan Jinlian's private servant is humiliated, and Liu Lixing's nightmare is better than seeking wealth in the story version. Pan Jinlian's private servant is humiliated, and Liu Lixing's nightmare is better than seeking wealth. 1. The shock of competition for favor territory 2.0. Last time, Simon King seduced Sister Li Gui, completely falling in front of Sister Li Gui's beauty and charm. She lived in the brothel for more than half a month, leaving the whole business and a bunch of beauties in the cold. Li Jiar didn't care. She was in a brothel in Ximangsan, and she was extremely happy to see her husband having sex with her niece. Wu Yunyang made the boy pick up the horse several times, but failed, so she admitted it. But how could Pan Jinlian endure it? The people who dress up every day with pink makeup, white teeth and red lips are leaning against the door and looking at it every day. The protagonists of this sentence in the poetry book are Pan Jinlian and Meng Yulu, but the portrait book calmly mentions Meng Yulu. The Jade Tower was wiped out, which makes Pan Jinlian's private servant more reasonable. Just wait until dusk. Only until Simon King's birthday is approaching at the end of July. We still remember the last time we celebrated her birthday. Pan Jinlian won Simon King's heart from the brothel and successfully married into Simon's family. It has been a year now. As the first anniversary approaches, Simon King is living in a brothel again. What should we do? Pan Jinlian couldn't bear the loneliness of an empty bed, so she had to repeat her old tricks and send a letter to convey her love. Think about it at dusk. Think about it during the day, and hope that the murderer will not be so sentimental. Because he languished and died because of him. He was so pitiful that he was embroidering quilts alone. The lamp was about to burn out, and people slept, leaving only half the window to see the bright moon. Sleeping hard is hard, like iron. How can I survive this miserable night? The song Falling Plum Blossoms nakedly expresses the feeling of love sickness. What man would not be moved after reading such a love letter? But who told it to be given to men in brothels? This affectionate love letter was unceremoniously intercepted by Sister Li Gui. Then, Sister Li Gui's charming and beautiful face was instantly replaced by a coy bitch face, and she left the table angrily. Simon King, as the protagonist of The Prostitute and the boss who spends money, lost his face in front of the helper. He kicked Diane twice in front of everyone and told him to take the horse back. The prostitute at home asked you to come. I will get home as soon as possible. Beat them all to death. This was the first and only time that Dan was beaten. The future member of the Simon family became well-informed in the future, and quickly learned to be all-round and well-rounded. Okay now, the heroine pretended to be angry, and the hero seemed a little really angry when he was pushed into a hurry. How do you drink this wine? Why is this prostitute doing whoring? This requires the helpers to take action. Do you remember our master Ying Earl? Earl Ying first brought the two sides closer. Simon King won't go home. Sister Li Gui won't be angry, don't mention the past, and continue drinking. Of course, the love letter is still there, which is a bit embarrassing, isn't it? Well, Mr. Count will sing you a song. The bits of this fine tea grow under the spring breeze. The leaves are not picked or picked, but the color becomes brighter when boiled. It is a unique product that is difficult to describe and paint. I often sip it in my mouth, and miss it when I am drunk. I loved him when I woke up. It turned out that a basket of money is worth 1,000 gold. With a hug and a double entendre, he flattered the beauty Li Guiji and the rich man Simon King at the same time. Everyone was happy, right? It's much better than Pan Jinlian's The Wind of Falling Plum Blossoms, isn't it? Probably in order to further highlight the power of Earl Ying, Zida told a very ignorant joke, which hurt the brothel, causing Sister Li Gui to retort and despise the helper who only choose people in vain. Conflict has come again. What should we do? If Earl Ying and others continue to sneer at each other, it will definitely be a big deal, and it will be too disrespectful of his boss, Simon King. If Earl Ying and others admit defeat and no longer dwell on this topic, it will be too disrespectful. He can't hold his head high in front of his boss, Simon King. After all, they are brothers. Therefore, the smart Earl Ying quickly changed his thinking and responded flexibly, "We will only eat for free, not treat. Then I'll trade you Of course, in order not to suffer a loss, they only put out a very small amount of money. In order to take advantage, they immediately opened their stomachs and ate the food back quickly. Before leaving, they even stole some souvenirs to make up for it. It must be admitted that it was a help. They have maintained a high degree of agreement with Earl Ying on this point, and they have a tacit understanding like brothers. The story of Simon King's whoring with Sister Li Gui comes to an end. Because Simon King beat Dan and scolded his wives and concubines, Dan reported and cried when he came home. There is no doubt that the Simon family's favor-fighting territory has been strongly shaken. 2. Territory upgrades lead to larger-scale wars. Diane went home and cried. Here comes the little one who was kicked and scolded by his father. He said that if he is picked up by someone else, he will be scolded when he comes home. In response to this, the wives and concubines were no longer calm and began to express their opinions. Wu Yunying said, "It's okay if you don't come back. How can you scold a servant? It means that even if there is a territorial dispute, you can't kill the Lai envoy." This is a bit of a comfort to Dan. Meng Yulu said, "Forget it if you scold the boy. Why are you scolding us? There is nothing wrong with us bringing you back. How long have you been away from home? This is a united front, united to the outside world." Pan Jinlian said that the prostitutes in the brothel only care about money and not love. As the saying goes, the gold and silver on the ship cannot fill up the fireworks village. This is to draw Meng Yulu's united front more clearly. They care about money. Let's intercede, however. Cruelty should be cruel and straightforwardness should be straightforward. Don't Wu Yunyang and Meng Yulu not understand this truth? They just didn't say anything, but Pan Jinlian was about to finish what she said, but Li Jier overheard. So she secretly made a grudge. Last time Sun Zue said something about Pan Jinlian behind her back, and Pan Jinlian heard it. This time Pan Jinlian said something about Li Jier behind her back, and Li Jier heard it. From beginning to end, voyeurism and rumors are the indelible labels of this family, and they are also the author's most brilliant narrative weapons. Now it is obvious that Battle for Favor 2.0 will soon be upgraded to version 2.1. In this version, Wu Yunyang and Pan Jinlian are on the same side. They want Simon King and the Gu family, and Meng Yulu has made it clear that he is on this side. Sun Zue's old hatred has not been resolved, and Li Jiao has added a new one. They are old people and it is Pan Jinlian who opposes it. Of course, they are supported by new blood outside the territory. Sister Li Gui is a powerful foreign aid. This is the last moment before Li Ping'er appears, and the largest war is about to break out in version 2.1. The platform for war appears like this, because Examen King did not return home for a long time. Pan Jinlian, who was lonely and horny, began to seduce the piano boy of Meng Yulu. There are almost no hidden secrets in Jin Ping Mei. On the one hand, Qin Tong himself showed off and spread the news, causing Li Jier and Sun Zue to complain to Wu Yunyang. On the other hand, Qiu Zhu leaked the news, and after Xiao Yu, Sun Zue, and Li Jiaosun complained to Wu Yunyang. Wu Yunyang became a gathering point for information. Li Jier and Sun Zue mistakenly thought that this big sister was neutral and hoped that she would come forward to uphold justice. They never thought that the big sister was now on the side of Pan Jinlian and Meng Yulu. Helpless, Li Jier and Sun Zue had no choice but to report to the supreme leader Simon King. When Simon King heard this, he was angry and brave. Well, they succeeded once in holding the emperor in order to order the princes, and the war started in full force. Simon King's actions were generally in line with Li and Sun's expectations, but he was not an easy gun. While the matter of Pan Jinlian's personal servant has not yet been fully exposed, how should Simon King, as a parent, deal with it? First, he beat the piano boy, but the piano boy refused to admit it until he died. He insisted that the sachet found was found in the garden. Simon King had no choice but to beat him with a stick 30 times, until the skin and flesh were ripped open, and blood dripped down his legs. No, you still don't understand Uncle Simon's painstaking efforts. Next, Simon King wants to bring bad luck to Pan Jinlian. As soon as she entered the door, she was slapped in the face. And then she waved a riding crop and made her kneel in front of her for interrogation. What's funny is that Simon King actually deceived Pan Jinlian. Thief and whore, don't lie in your sleep. I have interrogated my slave, and he has confessed everything. Tell the truth, I was not at home and you stole with him. How many times? This is like a game theory prisoner's dilemma theme. Pan Jinlian didn't know whether Qin Tong would confess, but as of now, resisting would not necessarily result in strict punishment, while confessing would certainly not result in leniency. So for the private servant, he denied it to death, and the excuse was that others had maliciously slandered him. As for the sachet that was found, he said that he had dropped it himself. Fortunately, Pan Jinlian's casual remark was completely consistent with Qin Tong's confession, forming a natural collusion. Fortunately, although the angry Simon King struck his white flesh with a horsewhip, and it was painful, he still managed to fight back with a trembling, pitiful, and tearful figure. Simon King was a little moved when he saw this unusual beauty. Even better luck was that the person Simon King was looking for, Chen Mai, had already formed a party with Pan Jinlian at this time. He said a few extremely sharp and realm words. First of all, how could Pan Jinlian be so good? The slave was benefited, and the second was that someone was slandering him, and the third was that Simon King should have his own opinion. And wearing a kukul didn't look good or sound good, which made Simon King change his mind. What's even better is that Pan Jinlian is having an affair with Meng Yulu's servant. Meng Yulu obviously has to express her position. She has no choice but to side with Wu Yunyang and Pan Jinlian, although she may know that the things behind it are terrible. The truth, she secretly comforted Pan Jinlian without telling Li and Sun. Plead for Pan Jinlian on the pillow and excuse herself. Firstly, Li Jiar and Sun Zui had conflicts with Pan Jinlian. Secondly, Wu Yunyang was also watching. If yes, how could she not say it? So, Simon King was completely relieved. Finally, the day of personal servants is over. You may want to say that Simon King is so stupid that he couldn't even discover this. Or, why didn't Simon King ask Wu Yunyang? As mentioned before, to understand Uncle Simon's painstaking efforts, our question is, does Simon King really not doubt it? Does he really not mind? The answer is of course no. Simon King has long been accustomed to such things, and is not surprised at all. But what can he do? If he really dealt with it impartially, he would have to sell Pan Jinlian to the Simon family to convince the public. Is he happy with this? What's more, as Chen Mai said, if everyone knew about it, the big kukul on the head of the official Simon would be firmly established. In the future, there will be legends in brothels, official. You come to prostitutes, and your wife at home will kukuled you. Already. Therefore, Simon King first smartly sent the former young family's piano boy far away without even saying hello to Meng Yulu. This was not only to facilitate Pan Jinlian's default, but also to eliminate the rumors. Then Pan Jinlian was punished, with small punishments and big warnings, as a warning to others. At this point, Simon's family was at least temporarily peaceful, even though Pan Jinlian later fell in love with his son-in-law Chen Jingji, and did not dare to attack Simon openly before celebrating his birthday. In a word, for parents and rulers like Simon King, harmony is the most important thing. Of course, this war experience also taught Pan Jinlian and told us how important it is to be shameless, posturing, forming cliques in a family or even a political power that competes for favor and power. 3. Pan Jinlian's new enemy. Although the private servant matter has come to an end, only gratitude and hatred can last for thousands of years. Pan Jinlian, Li Jiar, and Sun Zui have a deep hatred for these two prostitutes. Not only that, Pan Jinlian immediately made a head-on enemy with Sister Li Gui, a strong supporter of the other camp. Here's the thing. It was Simon Qingzheng's birthday on this day, so he took the opportunity to pay homage to some of his wives and concubines by singing for Sister Li Gui, which meant, we from the brothel are begging for food on the rivers and lakes, and we have no intention of stealing our husbands from you, so you can just do it for your convenience. In this regard, Wu Yunyang, who was still angry a few days ago, was very generous, making relatives and giving gifts, as if nothing happened. And Pan Jinlian, holding back the old and new grudges of destroying the post and being beaten, would never bow her head. Sister Li Gui, I invited Pan Jinlian to see me. I invited her twice, but Jinlian didn't come out. She just said she felt bad. Sister Gui went to the corner gate of the Golden Lotus Garden in person and said, "At least I can meet Wu Niang." When Jinlian heard him coming, she made Chun Mai close the corner gate like an iron bucket, and said, "Mother ordered me. I dare not bloom this flower." Then my mother came back with shame on her face. Okay, this can be regarded as making enemies head-on, and a new one-on-one is about to begin. On the night of his birthday, Simon King entered Pan Jinlian's room. Pan Jinlian is extremely gentle, serving tea, soup, feet, and water, and helping in every possible way. At night, I am having fun on the mat, bending down to endure humiliation, and doing everything I can. She is moved with emotion and understands with reason, my brother, who is in this family. Do you love me? Only the slave knows your heart, and you know the slave's intentions. When others see that you love the slave so much, even around the slave, they are not angry, and use their tongues behind your back to instigate you. You beat the slave to death. And that's just in this room. Didn't I say something? I'm afraid his fanboy will ruin your body. What's the plot of the song in the courtyard? That he loves money blindly? Who? Love you? Who would have thought that someone with intentions would hear it and form a gang behind my back to plot against me? To be fair, Pan Jinlian's performance this night was no less than last year. I felt pity for her and was so happy. This one is extremely gentle. This one beats the slave to death. But only in this room, the lower limit is low enough. This slave knows your heart. I'm afraid his fan will damage your body. I really have no problem with prostitutes. I am here for you wholeheartedly. Is the realm high enough? It can be said that Pan Jinlian did work hard enough, but it was a pity that her opponent was too strong. Li Guiji's advantage is actually just that new people laugh and old people cry. She used the bed to act coquettishly to Simon King, and took advantage of Simon King's bragging opportunity to provoke him. She wanted Pan Jinlian's hair. We have mentioned the importance of hairpins before, but that is because hair is more important. Pan Jinlian herself said that she would rather burn her skin all over than cut off a little of her hair, because hair is a symbol of the head and a symbol of life. What's more, when Sister Li Gui wants to get her hair done, she has to do it under her feet. Simon King wanted Pan Jinlian's hair to show off in the brothel, so he threatened Pan Jinlian. Intimidation failed, so I had to coax and lie, and bully them. Pan Jinlian probably guessed that it was Sister Li Gui's trick, but she didn't dare to disobey into the roof. She cried softly, "I will depend on you in everything. I just hope you will never forget your heart, and you can go ahead and be nice to others. I just don't give up. Get out of the way of the slave family." This is simply retreating in order to advance. It's a pity that Simon King doesn't understand it, but he no longer cares about Pan Jinlian. He happily went to see Sister Li Gui with his share. "Why didn't you tell me after you saw it?" He had a hard time cutting his hair yesterday. I changed my face and became annoyed, so he allowed me to cut off this hair. I coaxed him and just said that I wanted to make the top thread of a net scarf. Bring it in for you to see. It shows that I have not broken my promise. Do you feel a little drunk after reading this? After finally getting the hair, what is Simon King doing? It is said that a man's IQ will drop when he is in love. Simon King must have been so fascinated by Sister Li Gui that he no longer knows who he is, right? Of course, this further highlights Simon King's anger when Sister Li Gui cheated later in the article. If I were Pan Jinlian, if I knew that my husband was so embarrassed in front of a prostitute, I would almost kill him with a piece of tofu. 4. The back of narrative. Pan Jinlian's hair was stepped on by Sister Li Gui, so she felt unhappy and wasted no time eating and drinking. How to do it? Wu Yunyang invited Mrs. Liu to see a doctor, and also induced Liu Lizing to go back and forth to change her luck. The result of the backlash was that Simon King returned to Pan Jinlian's side like water and fish, and the joy was extraordinary. Isn't this a good result? However, The author wants to emphasize at the end of the chapter, no matter how big or small you are, be it a teacher, a nun, a monk, or a wet nurse, don't do anything behind your back. What's going on? I think the author is indeed sarcastic. After all, pressing your hair is superstitious, and turning your back is even more superstitious. What the author is satirizing is the reality of turning your back. But more importantly, it's written for the sake of contextual storytelling. In other words, it's a backtrack to the narrative. In the last war, there was no doubt that Pan Jinlian won a complete victory. In this war, although Pan Jinlian was humiliated, he escaped in the end. The effect that Li Jier and Sun Zue wanted did not materialize, so it was considered a tie. In the second half, Sister Li Gui got Pan Jinlian's hair unscathed, which can be said to have the upper hand. What should Pan Jinlian do? So the author made a backtracking and let Simon King return to Pan Jinlian's side, which can be regarded as reversing the loss to a certain extent. Now the hatred between the two camps can be temporarily backed, and the competition for favor can also be stopped for a while. Next, new elements will be injected into the text. After 12 chapters of text, Li Ping'er, the second heroine of Jin Ping Mei, will finally make her debut.
Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.